everybody, and welcome back to another one of my videos. If you're new here, welcome in general. My name is Freyleyce, and welcome to my first video in a little bit. I've been kind of MIA recently. I apologize, I just haven't been feeling like I wanted to film, which is weird because I actually love filming. Like, everybody always tells me I have such a camera personality, even if they don't know about my YouTube channel, which a lot of people in my life do not. But I don't know, I just haven't been feeling like I wanted to film, so I let it go. I stopped taking shit too seriously and was like, you know, I'll come back to it when I come back to it. I know it like hasn't been that long. It's been like, what, 7 days? It's felt like ages to me because my last video was pre-recorded, but either way, I'm back because I felt like filming again, which was great because I was really missing it. I know that this like seems so much more important to me than it would to you guys because my last video was literally 7 days ago, but either way, it felt big to me. Finally back in another video, and I'm actually very excited to film this one. I wanted to start with something that I knew I could film and that I knew I could just do well. So I'm gonna be going over some of my recent favorites, books that I've read in the past like month and a half that I just like really loved. Basically, these books have just been on my mind since I read them and I want to talk about them. I think I did like a recommendation video for favorites on KU like a few months ago, and this one is kind of inspired by that. Like, it's gonna be a little like that, but not all of these are on KU, so it can't quite be that. It's just a recent favorites video, recommendation video, and discussion, basically just because I want to talk about them. So thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I can't believe how close we are to 1K. Your guys' support means so much to me. Thank you all so much for the nice comments, the subscribes. I'm very excited for the video that I have planned for 1K. There's gonna be some fun stuff coming up in the next month that I'm very excited for, so thank you so much for watching, supporting me. Let's get into the video. Okay, so these literally don't have an order to them. Some of these I read in May, and some of these I read like last week or something. But the first one we're gonna start with is one that I literally just got in the mail like an hour ago. That is Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. Y'all, when I tell you this book is big as fuck, like this is my hand. I have a pretty average sized hand, but this I think is the biggest, like tallest book on my shelf. It doesn't even fit in the frame. I don't know what's up with this book, but I had to get it because this cover is like super pretty, but I also really loved this book. This is a second chance marriage kind of thing. So they were actually married, but they were never really like in love. She was just in love with him, and he's like an asshole. So it's like second chance. They're both famous and rich as fuck. They're both kind of outcasts. This is also a fucking toxic romance. I was living for it. This was actually recommended to me by Neyemas from Neyemas Reads like last year, I think. I don't know. I saw it then and I was just like, I really need to read this, and I finally picked it up. It was so fucking good. So let's get into a little bit about the plot. This follows James and Jasmine. It's in third point of view, which I actually had no issues with because I had just read The Annihilator by runyx, so I was just like, third point of view to third point of view, like this was fun. So yeah, basically they were married before. Jasmine's family owns like Hennessy, like the alcohol, which is kind of fun. I actually kind of really like that. So her last name is Hennessy. James is like kind of from the other side of the tracks. Like, he's not rich and he's not like kind of royalty like their family is, and like her father doesn't approve of him, but I don't really remember the exact reason why they get married, but like they get married and it's totally loveless. She really likes him, but he's an ass. He's such an asshole throughout this whole book, like anti-hero who. But basically they divorce, and then like 4 years later they see each other again, and we start where they see each other again for the first time, and the tension, holy fucking shit, this was so angsty. I was absolutely living for it. Them together, oh, it was so hot. There's a lot of character growth in this one and just a lot of them being real characters, and I was absolutely living for this book. It's actually a series. The first book, this one, came out in like 2019, I think, and the second book still is not out, and the author doesn't even have Instagram, so I'm just like, how do you promote your shit? So I don't really know. It does end on a cliffhanger, and James is still an asshole at the end of the book, so we must have that second book so we can figure out how James redeems himself, hopefully with a shit ton of groveling. I was also saying how I want to do a recommendation video for like tension and angst-filled books. This one will be on there, but let me know in the comments, y'all, if you really want that one soon, because I was thinking maybe like beginning of August, but I can also move it up on my schedule if y'all want it sooner, so let me know in the comments. Either way, the next one we're going to talk about is another angsty romance. This is also Marriage in Trouble, Second Chance. That's Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. So I picked this one up, and this totally did not disappoint. Like, oh my god. The first 50% I rated 5 stars, but then the second 50% I rated 4 stars just because I wasn't like fully vibing with it. But let me tell you a little bit about the plot and the characters because it's so good. So this follows Olivia and Bennett. Bennett has a accident and wakes up not remembering anything about his life. So when Olivia shows up in the hospital, like, oh my god, my ex-husband was just in a car crash, holy shit. He's like, babe, what are you doing? Like, come over, give me a kiss. And she's like, excuse me? And he's like so confused. And then eventually when he finds out he cheated on her, he's like so mad at himself. Like, why the fuck would I cheat on this woman that is the love of my life? Oh my god, y'all, I'm flushing so hard right now because this book was so good and it was so angsty. The butterflies, oh my god, I really, really love this one. He is also dating somebody at the time, so there is cheating. Like, he cheated on her, which is why she filed for divorce, and then they cheat on his girlfriend at the time when he had the accident. So if you like cheating, if you like angst, if you like all that, this one is so good. I feel like I'm kind of late to the hype train on this one. Like, a lot of people have already read this, but I'm so glad I picked it up because it's so good. These last two are told in dual perspective and dual timeline, and I actually really like that in a marriage and trouble book. Like, I haven't read that many actually, I don't know why I say that, but like if you get to see glimpses of the past but like start in the time when they're divorced, I absolutely love that. Like, it gives so many new vibes that I haven't really gotten before. I feel like this is such a unique trope too. Like, I really like this one. Like, I literally haven't read that many, but I know this one is gonna be a top book for this trope. Next up we have Ghosted by J.M. Darhower. More to Mary read this one. So when she read this one and she made a video about how she really liked it, I was like, okay, if somebody who's not in a huge ass reading mood right now loved this one, then I gotta love this one. Also, we just share the same reading taste, so it's like perfect. She gives so many good recommendations. But yeah, she read this one. I picked it up like a few weeks after it was in her video. I actually picked this one up on the trip that I went with my family and my best friend. We were coming back home on the car ride and on the ferry, and I was reading this on the way, and it was really great. Like, it was a great book to read for vacation. It wasn't 5 stars or 6 stars, but it was a really good book to read, and it had some tropes that me like 2 years ago would absolutely die for. So a little like detour here, but I just really want to talk about it. You may have seen on my Instagram stories that I was on a trip with my best friend, obviously, and she's also a reader, but she reads fantasy mainly. She reads Sarah J. Maas, and that's actually what she was reading while we were on this trip and right now. And so we're working together this summer, and I really, really want to do a reading taste swap with her. So I read a Sarah J. Maas book, or maybe a Jennifer L. Armentrout, I'm not sure, and I get her to read one of the romances that I've loved. So I'm very excited to do that. I really want to do a vlog with her because we see each other 5 days a week and we work together, so I'm like, we can totally do this vlog. She said she would do it. We made a promise that we would at least swap one book this summer, and we were on the ferry on the top deck just reading, and I was reading Ghosted, and I showed her one of the sex scenes in it, and I was like, what'd you think of this? And so we like swapped sex scenes in book. She was reading A Court of Something by Sarah J. Maas, and so it wasn't actually like super steamy. I was literally like looking at her like, what the fuck is this? Because the smut only lasted like half a page, and I was like, but either way, the sex scene in Ghosted that I got her to read was like 10 pages long, and I was like, this is how you write it? Either way, that was just a really fun story. I will stop rambling about that now. Let's move on to Ghosted by J.M. Darhower. This one is also second chance, so like, again, the angst, oh my god. It's also secret baby. Well, it's not actually secret baby. He knows that he has a kid, but he is really famous, and he lives a life that isn't suitable for his kid. He's also making choices that aren't good for his kid, so she's like, you're not coming near our child. So this follows Kennedy and Jonathan. They're just like high school sweethearts. You know how it goes. It's second chance. It's friends to lovers. He really wants to be an actor, and he has a like abusive relationship with his dad, who's like a senator, I think. And she's kind of just like a good girl. She doesn't really like live life. She just kind of exists. So they fall in love in high school, and they're like, I will follow you anywhere. I love you so much. And so that's literally what happens. Jonathan moves to LA, I think it is, to try and get into acting, and she follows him. But then pretty soon after he gets his first acting gig, shit starts to go downhill. He starts getting into drugs, spending their money, like shit just goes downhill, and after a while she can't take it anymore. She moves back home, but she gets pregnant, and that's not really a spoiler. Like, I'm pretty sure it says in the blurb like we have a kid together or something. But yeah, he comes back like 6 years later, I think, and is like, I'm in a stable place in my life, and I want to be in our kid's life, and I want to be in your life again. And like, she's also kind of like dating somebody but kind of not, and it's also One of Us Is Famous trope because he's a fucking famous actor, and their kid is actually in love with the like Marvel movie he acts in, and it's actually pretty funny. But yeah, I really like this one. It was just a really good contemporary read. In all fairness, I don't read a lot of contemporary, so I got a bit bored. I was just like, can we have some murder? But we didn't. But for a contemporary read, I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, me 2 years ago would absolutely die for these tropes. Like the One of Us Is Famous trope mixed with second chance and a secret baby, I would literally have died. And I kind of did die reading the first little bit of this. Like the tension, Oh my god, I don't know what it is with me lately. I've just been enjoying tension-filled, angsty books. Ghosted by J.M. Darhower was another favorite. I feel like I've thought about this book so much since I finished it that it just like brings up the rating even more because it's like I can't get it out of my mind. Okay, next one is one that I actually read I think in the end of May or June. I think it was during Pride Month, but that one is Vibe by Liza James. This one is a sapphic romance and it's dark, so like I automatically loved it. I really want to get into sapphic romances, but there's not that many out there. Like I don't know what's up. They're all contemporary with cartoon covers, well most of them at least, and I just don't really find myself loving those. So Vibe by Liza James, it's been on my TBR, I shit you not, since like last September. But either way, this one follows Ruby and Aurora. One of them, I'm pretty sure it's Aurora. If I get this wrong, I'll be really pissed at myself, but one of them was in a cult for like the majority of their life, and she's finally out of it and she's learning to adapt to real life, and she's kind of feeling a little bit stable. She has a best friend that's very supportive, or is she? And she has a boyfriend, and one time they're in a strip club and she sees Ruby, who is a stripper, and is like, oh my god, and there's like an instant connection there. I don't find that insta-lovey, like it just feels like an instant connection, like it's soulmate type of love, and they're so hot together. Like literally, this might have been the hottest book that I've read in a while. So basically they have an instant connection. I think like Aurora and her boyfriend drive Ruby home, or Ruby stays at their house, I'm pretty sure. And Ruby is just all up in Aurora's face like, you're a lesbian, but you're in denial, and we're gonna hook up and I'm gonna get you over your denial. And it's like, oh, it is so hot. There's cheating in this one as well. Both of them have just been through a lot, but them together, oh, it is so hot, and I absolutely love this one. Like, it's not like really, really dark, but it's nice and dark, just how I like it. And yeah, this was such a good book. I will forever recommend this as sapphic romance. I know I said that I was going to do a sapphic romance recommendation video, but I just couldn't get in the mood to do it. But if I had to pick one sapphic recommendation, it would be this one. Okay, next one is another paperback. I think this is the only paperback that I read last month. That is The Sacrifice by Jessica Gadziala. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but guys, listen up, listen up. This one is a paranormal MC spicy romance. Hold on, that like right there, that just deserves a moment of silence. Like, this book was so good, y'all. It's paranormal, right? So it follows demons, witches, covens, shapeshifters, like the guys that turn from like wolves into humans. I've never read anything like that before. I was reading it and I was like, is this happening? Like, am I dreaming? Am I making this up? But I actually didn't mind it. I will say that I don't think I'll ever see myself reading like just a shapeshifter romance, but I didn't mind the element of that. I was really fucking confused, but I didn't mind it. This one follows Lenore and Lycus. I call him Lie because Lycus, what is that? But yeah, Lenore is a witch, and she's in like an all-women coven, and she doesn't really know much about life outside of her coven, so she's pretty sheltered. It is actually kind of good girl, bad boy, y'all. Like, it was giving. But there's this like century-old tradition of there being a witch, the Sacrifice, who goes to live with the demons. I don't really know what that is, but it's like to keep peace and shit. So she gets chosen. She has to go live with them. She's like utterly afraid of them. Like, you're gonna rape me, you're gonna torture me, you're gonna do all this shit. And literally, they don't do anything. I think they might lock her in the basement, but other than that, like, she gets food, she gets everything. She's like, oh, this ain't all that bad. But she also, it gets really sad, and then when she gets sad, she makes it pour rain. And so Ace, who's kind of like the prez of the MC, it's not like heavy on the MC because, I mean, they're demons first, but there is MC to this. So Ace, who's the prez, is like, Lycus, you need to do some shit about this because we can't have it raining all the time. The humans are gonna say something. And so Lai has to go down there and like console her, and she's like, get away from me! And it's kind of a hate to love thing. It's not enemies to lovers. They don't hate each other with the passion of 1,000 suns, but it's got some tension to it, and it's spicy, and it's so good, and they get bonded to one another. It's kind of like fated mates. Y'all, so good. Come spooky season, I'll be recommending this so much. It's gonna be like I'm forcing you to read it. Okay, my last one. This one is in a series. I mentioned it before. This is The Annihilator by runyx. I've been waiting for this one since January, and so when it finally came out, I jumped on it. And this was my first day of vacation too. Like, this was the first book that I read on vacation, and it was so great. Like, I love having memorable reads for memorable times, and I absolutely love this one. I haven't talked about it in a while actually, but I absolutely love the Dark Verse series. This is book 5 in the Dark Verse series by runyx, and it's obviously not a standalone, it's book 5, and it follows two people that we've been waiting for 4 books, and they're finally together. This is gonna be spoiler free, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. When they were finally together, and like when I realized who each other were, because I had a suspicion, but it wasn't confirmed until I think like the first night I was reading this. We had gotten to our Airbnb, and my best friend and I were sleeping in this loft. We were both reading. I screamed at my Kindle, and she looked at me just like, Jesus, you scared me. I was so happy when I found out that these two are together. Like, it just makes so much sense. It fits. This is touch her and you die to another level. Like, she is in the sex trafficking industry, and he's trying to save her and take down the syndicate that she's being trafficked through. So every buyer that buys her, basically, and she goes to be a slave for them, every buyer somehow ends up dead. I wonder why. Actually, you didn't have to wonder for long, because she goes through like 15 buyers and he kills them all. I was like, whoa, that's hot. And then he like saves her after a bit and takes her to his like mansion in the woods, and I was like, oh my god, it's so good. I'm not gonna say too much more because then we could be going into spoiler territory. This was such a good book in the series. I was a little bit disappointed by The Finisher, which is a book before this. This one, I needed this one because it made me fall in love with the Darkverse world again, and I'm so excited for that 6th book. It's the ending, so it's like bittersweet, but I'm very excited for it. Okay, everybody, that is all for today's video. I felt like I went straight back into the filming spirit, and now I'm gonna go film another video. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some new random recommendations. Like, there's literally no trope for this one. It's just like favorites. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. As always, my links are in the description. You can find my Instagram, my Goodreads, my business email, all that shit in the description, as well as links to some of the accounts that recommended a few of these books to me. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video very soon.